The Taliban has taken over Afghanistan faster than anyone predicted. When I made my last video, they were taking over rural areas, small towns. For the past week, they've been seizing major cities. And there's 34 provinces in Afghanistan. They now control 12 provincial capitals. They're in the process of seizing more. By the end of the day tomorrow, they will probably control 14 or 15. The Afghan government in Kabul today presented the Taliban delegation in Qatar with a power sharing agreement. They're already about to cry uncle. The United States State Department is evacuating the staff from the U.S. Embassy in Kabul to the airport so they can be evacuated at a moment's notice. The U.S. is even sending troops back to Kabul to protect U.S. State Department workers. So let me talk about some of the things that are going on. A week ago, the Taliban seized Kunduz, which is a large city. It's probably the 5th largest city in Afghanistan. Now, it is in the north, but it's mostly Pashtun. And the Taliban has been entering this city since at least 2015. And they'll enter the city, parade around just to show that they can, and then they would leave when the bombs would start falling. Well, now they've taken it over, and initially the Afghan military was still holed up at the Kunduz airport. There's a huge airport. It's built outside the city on a plateau. You can look at it on Google Maps. It looks easily defensible. And a week ago, the theory was that the Afghan army could stay in control of the airport. They could indefinitely, and they could fly in supplies, and they could stay there and, await a time when the Afghan army can show up with reinforcements. When that ended yesterday, they all surrendered. Everybody surrendered and laid down their guns and ammo, gave it to the Taliban in exchange for safe passage out of the area. 2 of the provincial capitals they took today are large cities. Now, when you're talking about cities in Afghanistan, no one even seems to know how many people really live there. So everybody's estimated populations of these cities are wildly different. But 2 of the cities they took today are Lashkargah and Ghazni, which are both generally listed among, the top 10 or 11 largest cities in Afghanistan. Well, Lashkargah, they had been fighting there for several days, and then what supposedly happened today is the main holdout was the local police department, and they blew up the police department with some kamikaze drivers in trucks full of explosives. And then the police surrendered and it was all over. And then a big unit of the Afghan army disintegrated, and a bunch of them surrendered, and a bunch of them just disappeared into the hills. Now, that's a majority Pashtun city. There's a lot of Balak people that live there too. Ghazni is like half Tajik, and it's about a quarter Pashtun and a quarter Hazara. It fell with, I guess, no fight at all. The Taliban showed up, and a bunch of the local politicians agreed to surrender the city to the Taliban in exchange for safe passage out. And there's all kinds of, this is like a movie. There's all kinds of video on social media. First, the Taliban escorts a bunch of the local politicians out of the city while Taliban fighters line the streets and jeer and yell insults at them. And then they get halfway to Kabul, and the Afghan army swoops in and apprehends all of them. And there's pictures of them all being interrogated on the side of the road. And this is like the governor of the province and leaders of this city. Now, another thing that happened today is the Taliban launched invasions of Kandahar and Herat, which Kandahar is the second largest city. It's majority Pashtun. Herat is the fourth largest city. It's majority Tajik. The Taliban has been camped out around both of these cities for weeks now. Most likely they're both going to fall. The story I'm seeing everywhere is that all over Afghanistan, the Taliban will call people on the phone and said, this is, Abdullah Muhammad, prepare for 9 dinner guests tonight. And then later that day, 9 Taliban fighters show up at your house and the people feed them. And nobody calls the government and reports them because nobody trusts. Now, I don't live in Afghanistan, so I can't verify for a fact that that's how it happens, but that's probably true. I mean, somebody's feeding all these Taliban fighters, and I've seen interviews. So weeks ago, the government announced, well, we're sending out the Afghan special forces to Kandahar, and they're gonna kick the Taliban's butt. And then later, I saw interviews with the Afghan special forces, and first of all, they don't have any of the proper logistical support. If they're actually fighting the Taliban and they run out of ammo, no one's bringing them more ammo. They eventually just have to surrender. They run out of ammo and have to surrender. And they have no intelligence. They're just dumped in an area. They have no idea who's Taliban or not. The local populations aren't cooperating with them. No one's saying, hey, the Taliban are in that house and that house. There's just no cooperation. So everything's collapsing. Like I said, all these Afghan soldiers from Kunduz surrendered en masse the other day, and apparently there was more mass surrenders today. And so there's a lot of different reasons why other countries in the region would not want the Taliban to rule Afghanistan. And some of the countries that are most opposed to the Taliban would be India, Iran, Tajikistan. And you would think China would be opposed because they're genociding Muslim Uyghurs. And, there's all these related Turkic people in Afghanistan that could form mujahideen to go into China. But on at least 2 occasions now, 2 Taliban press conferences by the Taliban delegation based in Qatar, they have bragged about what great negotiations they're having with China. And so I talked about before how China has been buying up all the mineral rights in Afghanistan. And with the, unlimited capital of the CCP, these state-owned Chinese companies can outbid Western companies. And the Chinese government has already set aside huge amounts of money for infrastructure projects in Afghanistan so they can get these mining operations going. And China, or the Taliban, says they're all for it. And the Taliban says that they're not going to let anyone, go into China to take revenge for the Uyghur people. And they're going to let China come in and build roads and set up mines. Now, there are reasons why this is not going to be smooth sailing for China. China is also doing a bunch of infrastructure projects in Pakistan. A few weeks ago, 9 Chinese workers were killed in a terrorist attack in Pakistan where a Chinese company is building a dam. And so what's happening is China is doing these projects in Pakistan, and they bring in Chinese engineers and Chinese managers. All the good jobs go to Chinese citizens. And the local populations in Pakistan resent this. And a group of people blew some of them up, killed 9 Chinese people. And then the Pakistani government tried to lie about it. They told China that it was a gas leak and a gas pipe exploded. Well, the Chinese didn't believe that for a second. In fact, a major Chinese official threatened Pakistan with airstrikes. And for a few days, it looked like this whole dam was going to be canceled. And I guess it's back on, they made up, but that's just an example of, the type of rough road is ahead for China uh, trying to work in Afghanistan. But I'm sure that the Chinese are going to try. A week from now, the way things are going, the Afghan government is probably only going to control the city of Kabul, maybe a few other small cities right outside of Kabul, and the core Shiite Hazara area in the center of Afghanistan. The rest is going to be under Taliban control. And then we will see if the Afghan army actually defends Kabul. I don't think it's a given that they're just going to melt away and the Taliban's going to take Kabul easy, but I don't know how hard they'll really fight or how long this will go on. I never thought that the Taliban would have taken over so much territory so fast. I figured that this would drag on for years, and what I'm seeing today, I expected I wouldn't see until another 6 to 12 months from now, and it's already happening today. So things are happening extremely fast. All right, thanks for watching this video. Click the like button, post a comment below, tell me what you think about this, and check out the website National Conservative. I'll post a link into the description. And click the subscribe button. New video every few days.